Let's do a show. Let's do a show right now. What are we doing?
Can't you see? Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
Let's go!
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born!
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So you know why I didn't care for what Meryl Streep did the other night at Golden Globes? I know. You've heard everybody beat this to death for the past couple of days, and you think that you've heard it all. Well, I've got a slightly different take on it, and something that is important that we all notice. So hang with me on this one. You know what I didn't like about it? I didn't like... And look, she basically went on stage and said, hey, this is Golden Globes. It's a Hollywood foreign press. You know who is incredibly maligned in this day and age? People in Hollywood, foreigners, and the press. A lot of people will tell you that a big chunk of the reason why Hillary Clinton lost the election was because, well, she wasn't in touch with everyday people. She wasn't in touch with you and me. And she was more interested in hanging out with her highfalutin media buddies. She was part of a narrative that everyday folks have been forgotten. And you know what? That narrative, I think, in a lot of ways, is kind of true. And it's sort of been proved by what Meryl Streep said. And here's the thing. I don't think the Meryl Streeps of this world really concern themselves with what happens half a country away in the middle of America, 9 days out of 10. I think they have basic compassion, caring for their other human being. We're all wired like that. But real awareness of what's going on? I don't know. And by the same token, I think a person in the middle of America doesn't really know what life in New York City or Hollywood, California, the show business capital of the world, involves. I'm fairly certain that a lot of folks that spend their time writing policy in Washington, people that make big financial decisions in New York City that affect the entire global economy, people that make entertainment in Hollywood, probably don't know about the family members that I was hanging out with over the holidays. Farmer in the Midwest. What do you think of when you think farmer in the Midwest? If you're not a farmer in the Midwest, you might have an idea in your head. But did you know that the family members that I spent time with over the holidays that are farmers in the Midwest, incredibly adept with computer sciences with relation to agriculture, know so much about mineral content of soil, the best and kindest and most conservative way from a conservationist standpoint to use that soil so that it's rich and fertile year in, year out. Goes way beyond crop rotation. Spent time with family members that are farmers that know that will forget more about computer sciences in relation to farming tomorrow than I will ever learn. Spent time with a family member who's a farmer in the Midwest that, besides being incredibly adept with computer sciences as it relates to preserving the soil and being kind to our earth while getting the very best results from that soil, who also knows an incredible amount about cognitive behavioral therapy in relation to a grandson that is autistic, about child development, about all these things that when you stop and think about them, why wouldn't they know about that? But when you're not a farmer in the Midwest, you don't picture it. You don't consider it. Donald Trump lashed back on Twitter. President Thinskin, as I think I'm going to be calling him. It's not that it's not his right to defend himself, but a president who appears to be able to take the high road, I don't think he is. So, those folks in the middle of the country, people that feel forgotten, by, let's use this blanket term, which I hate, Hollywood liberals or financial people in New York City, none of which really apply, have every right not to feel forgotten, but not necessarily known. And by the same token, look, Funkhouser and I are working stiffs. We're not part of the glitterati, but we have to deal with them on a regular basis. And I have a friend in Hollywood. Literally in Hollywood, who really kind of shed an interesting light into what the makeup of their day is like, that I would imagine people in the Midwest who are farming and worried about computer analysis of topsoil don't know a ton about either. And we'll get into that next.
Have mercy. This is Billy F. Gibbons right here, and you're listening to AD on the radio.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
Where is it? We have what Meryl Streep said. And basically what Meryl Streep said, and like I said, I know you've heard this a million times. I know that this has been beaten to death for the last couple of days, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that this is an aspect of it that you haven't heard yet, and it's important that we all recognize. This is, I think, basically what she said. She said everybody in Hollywood is a foreigner, and she said that, who's the most maligned people on the face of the planet at the moment, at least in America, that would be foreigners and Hollywood and the press, something of that nature.
You and all of us in this room really belong to...
By the way, I know she says you, but the whole speech sounds like it starts with an ew. Listen.
You and all of us in this room really belong to the most vilified segments in American society right now. Think about it. Hollywood, foreigners, and the press. What is Hollywood anyway? It's just a bunch of people from other places. So Hollywood is crawling with outsiders and foreigners. And if we kick them all out, you'll have nothing to watch but football and mixed martial arts, which are not the arts.
Well, then here's the thing. The reason I didn't like that is not because she's not entitled to her free speech or platform.
Disagrees.
Well, it's just like, here's the thing about mixed martial arts. You tell that to somebody that has dedicated their life to learning something like Krav Maga. You tell somebody that has dedicated their life to learning the finer points of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something of that nature. I think a lot of people would disagree and would call it an art. And I'm not here to pick holes in her argument about the fact that people in Hollywood don't like to watch MMA or football. My problem with the whole thing is that it created even more of a divide. She feels vilified. She feels part of a segment of society that is vilified. And you know what? Possibly justifiably so. But, like I said, my relative that I hung out with, the farmer in the Midwest that actually happens to be incredibly adept at computer sciences when it comes to analyzing the kindest way to treat topsoil so that we'll get the most out of the earth and be the kindest to it as we can. At the same time, the guy that understands so much about child development from having had an autistic grandchild, and the person who has all these strings to their bow, so to speak, that you just wouldn't think of when you, in your mind, picture a farmer in the Midwest. If you're not a farmer from the Midwest, you just don't know. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing. But it's the assumption that hurts us. And like I said, Funkhouser and I were not part of the glitterati. I don't know if you're aware of the the show business totem pole, but there's radio at the very bottom. There's the half-blood, red-headed stepchild over there, and we are not considered to be part of anything that is in any way, shape, or form, like I said, glittering or Hollywood-esque. But we do have to deal with those folks every now and then. And a friend of mine quite rightly so, a friend who moved to Hollywood from the middle of America, didn't know what she was going to be doing with her life. Just knew that she wanted to be involved in entertainment in some way, and knew that LA was a place to do that. Moved to Hollywood, I don't know, probably about a decade ago. No job, no prospects, just some grit, some hard work ethics, and some determination. And now she runs a reasonably large public relations company. Built that on her own from nothing. And she said, I'm sick of people complaining about Hollywood types and how easy and wonderful all of our lives are. Every single person I know in this industry works their butts off and have for years to create a world for people to be entertained. From personal assistants to managers to journalists to their publicists to the grips to the creators to the musicians to the photographers to the glam squad, I guess people that do hair and makeup, and so on. We work nights, we work weekends, 14-hour plus days. We travel and spend less time in the destination than you did on a plane to get there. We miss birthdays, we miss weddings and anniversaries and baby showers. And yeah, it comes with perks because we work hard and we play hard. Actors and artists get paid a lot of money, but they bring you to a world or give you a feeling that only they can create. They also sometimes go months, years, decades without a secure job. There's trolls on the internet tearing them apart for no reason. They spend 2.5 hours getting made up for you after spending 8 to 10 hours on set for critics to either love or hate how they look. So just because it all looks glamorous from the outside looking in, it doesn't make it easy. This job is hard. It's not for the weak. Please stop criticizing Hollywood. Now then. I guess what it goes to show is that, what do you want to call it? The grass is always greener. Whatever you want to. There's probably folks that work in big cities and have highfalutin financial or entertainment jobs that wish they could live a simpler so-called life and maybe just be a farmer and work with the land. And then you get to the Midwest, you talk to my relatives and you go, all right, well, what computer skills do you bring with you? And they go, huh? Wait, what? See, my problem is not so much that people aren't entitled to their feelings. People have a right to feel forgotten by folks in New York and Los Angeles. People in New York and Los Angeles have a right to feel misunderstood. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is you can't be expected to understand someone else. But if we can all accept that there's something that we don't know about everyone, and maybe operate from there, it would be a better start.
You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away.
Real Radio 104.1.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
I got a message from Kim who said, you're so right. We don't take the time to consider how other people feel. Well, that's true. You don't know. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about this war of words that has been kicked off between Meryl Streep and Donald Trump. Yes, on the surface of things, the most trivial of all events that has happened. But I think it uncovers a real problem. Streep, Trump, folks like that, only too happy to make snide-cutting remarks that dig various segments of society further in, that entrench us in division. It's supposed to be bringing the country together. That was the whole idea. At least that's what was said during the acceptance speech. And whether it's intentional or not, this sort of stuff just, I think, kind of breeds an us and them situation. Let me ask you to reconsider the last argument you had. Do you remember the last argument you were in? Maybe not an argument that you had with someone that you're in a relationship with. When you get to see each other naked, that changes the whole dynamic. But let's say a coworker. Let's say we should leave sports out of it too, because that involves certain ingrained principles that are perfectly okay because it's sports. But all right, let's say a coworker, or perhaps a dispute that you had with, I don't know, somebody that was fixing your car. Whatever the last non-relationship argument you had was. Do you remember the other person's position? Do you remember yours? Generally speaking, you'll find that in an argument, with the benefit of a little bit of hindsight, you're not wrong. And you know what? They're going to walk away feeling exactly the same way. And you know what? You're probably both right. You just don't understand each other's position. Or you don't care about each other's position. Or you're more concerned with what it's going to wind up doing to you if you don't get your way than them. And so you can't possibly be expected to understand everybody else's life and what they go through every single day. You can't. It's impossible. Until you sit down and have that conversation, until you, what's the old adage, walk a mile in their shoes, you're never going to know the full story. So maybe just accepting that there's a full story that we don't know. Maybe just accepting that there is more going on than meets the eye with other people before we vilify them or say that they don't understand or don't care about the things that we care about. Maybe we just keep in mind that there's things that people that make movies are going through that we don't get. Or if we're making movies, there's things that people in the middle of the country that are like my relative farmers going through that we have no concept of.
You know, I go to the movies for one reason. You know, I go for the previews. The previews are the best. You ever hear the previews guy? Are you ready? One man, one decision, one desire. You remember that voice before that guy does that? You really think about it. That's the only thing that guy could do for a living, you know? He couldn't be like a mechanic or anything. Hey, how much for that transmission? An arm and a leg. And he could take any topic, regardless of what it is, and make it cool with that voice. It'd be... In the city, you must fight to survive. He sold tortillas on the corner, and the mob wanted in. I don't know who this guy is, but I want him and his tortillas. Dead! He had one chance, and his chance was to fight back. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Listen to me. These are my tortillas, and I'm not going to get them out here. You got to get out of here. They're trying to kill you. Get out. Let go. Double the action. Triple the excitement. Get down. More the excitement. Get down again. They didn't know who he was. Mijito, who are those men who came here? What did they want? Listen to me. You have to keep your head down. They're trying to take my tortilla. One man. One desire. Arnold Schwarzenegger this summer is no! Little tortilla boy. Thank you very much, everybody.
The great Pablo Francisco giving us an idea of what it's like to be a voiceover guy. You know, I'm amazed that he sticks with the stand-up comedy, Funkhouser. Like, I mean, obviously that's his thing. He loves comedy. He loves doing what he's doing, and he's really, really good at it. And I've seen him live. He's as exciting as he is on the specials and as cool as it is to hear the audio of his voice coming out. If you listen back to that stuff, he is so entertaining live. But do you think that guy could work as a voiceover dude? You know what? I'm being short-sighted. There I go again, disregarding my own voice. Maybe he is a voiceover dude. Does he do movie trailers? Yeah. I mean, what was the guy, Don LaFontaine, that did all the work that passed away? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he passed away, and I got to imagine, you know, like, you want that voice. You go, well, the Pablo Francisco guy does a halfway decent impersonation of him. Let's get him. I wonder if that happened. I don't know. I do know this, though. If you are just a couple of weeks into this new year and you're already feeling burnt, there's a reason for that. We'll discuss why you're already burning out at your job after the holiday vacation type situation that you just emerged from. A little later on, after we check in with super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhouser, and discover what is going on in the world. Let's do some news.
Well,
first of all, how are you? Everything good? Everything going okay?
Yeah, man. I did TRX yoga this weekend, and I'm still feeling it like 3 days later.
Really?
Yeah.
What made you do that? Was that some sort of New Year's resolution? You were like, you know what? New year, new Funkhouser. I'm going to be a ripped-toned, shredded super athlete with single-digit body fat and a noticeable six-pack by the time I hit the beaches. No more waddling and sweating. For me, that's all AD all the time. But me, I'm going to look good. What was it part of a New Year's resolution?
I could go that way, but I'll just tell you the truth. My friend had a guest slot, and I took it. My friend's a teacher.
Really?
TRX teacher, and I took her class. I got a free class out of it, and
free class.
I signed up.
Really? So, are you now committed to TRX yoga? Is this a thing that you're going to be doing?
Every Sunday morning at 7:10, I will be pulling strings, pulling ropes.
7:10 on a Sunday. See, right there, you lost me. Doesn't matter how free it is. Is that what time do you usually get up on the weekends? Because you're like a morning person, which I do not relate to at all.
I try to stay consistent, and try to wake up. You're there. I read somewhere you're healthiest if you wake up and go to sleep the same time all the time, regardless of if it's like the weekday or weekend. So I'm trying to be up by 5-ish, 5-er. And
oh my God!
You got to understand though morning radio gets you up at 2:30, and I did that for a long time. So 5 o'clock is me sleeping in.
Yeah, but if 5 o'clock, that's got to be natural for you then, because I know tons of people that do morning radio. The moment the weekend rolls around, sleep until noon. There's people that just do that, and then people that have to fight every natural impulse that their body has to do that. And clearly, you're not one of them. So you would usually get up at 5 on a Sunday anyway.
Yeah.
That's a great thing for you to do then.
Rolling out of bed around that time. So 7 o'clock on a Sunday, it'll get my weekend rolling. And here we are 2.5 days later, and I'm still feeling the burn.
Well, you're supposed to. It's supposed to be, and I think it's not the day after. It's the day after the day after that's supposed to really let you know whether or not you punished yourself in an effective way.
My teacher friend says after 3, or if I do it for a month, I will, quote, transform my body, unquote.
You mean you just do it 4 times and you'll be transformed?
After the 4th, I guess you get.
After the 4th? Really?
Yeah.
After 4 times? Now, define transform, because this sounds like hooey to me, I tell you. Hooey.
Well, at the end of the first
class. You might feel
class,
better, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you'll look like Funkhouser.
At the end of the first class, I gotta admit, it took everything it had in me to finish it. The 60 minutes.
Yeah.
At about the 40-minute mark, I said, "What time is it, and when can I leave?" I'm gonna get a glass of water.
I think in my life I've taken 2 yoga classes, and they're punishing things. There is a study that came out a little while ago that said it doesn't even count as exercise. And here's the thing: there's lots of angry yoga people that will tell you that's not true. They'll tell you it's good for
angry?
See, that's part of the benefits of yoga. You can't. They take life as it comes, but that's really cool, man. I'm look, I think for pasty, lumpy seat. For pasty, lumpy people like this, us that spend a good portion of our day sitting, doing literally anything at all is probably a good thing. So I salute you.
My second class will be standing up for an hour.
Did you wear little stretchy pants?
I did, yes. I need to get new stretchy pants, though.
You wore yoga pants?
Yeah, they were a little big on me from the last time I tried the yoga a couple years ago. I was a little bigger, so I was swimming in them.
Let me ask you this. Was there the additional advantage of being behind?
What are you trying to say?
Was there the additional advantage
what
of being
dancing
behind
around?
Hold it. Was there the additional advantage of being behind some very superior posteriors, if you know what I mean, and I think you do, whilst they were downward facing their dogs? Was that a thing?
No, because TRX is different. You're pulling strings and there's a lot of funny angles involved. It's not really,
so there's it's resistance training.
It's not
as well.
A spectator sport.
No, it's not a chance. It's not a chance to
Yeah,
it's not a chance to.
Although I am in a college town, and they're
look at booty.
They turn it's in my favor. The environment is in my favor, but it is not a spectator sport. It is
all right.
It hurts.
Well, I look forward to witnessing your transformation
Yes.
first person. And you know what? I think we should, show.
Should I take a
show of
before
hands.
picture?
Before, yeah. I think, yes, there should be before and after pictures. I think the show and the internet should hold you accountable to this. Actually, I was thinking, brings up an interesting point. I was thinking that on Twitter, we should have a survey of the day. That's what I think. And perhaps we can make this a survey question. Should Funkhouser stick with his yoga? Let's do that. My current survey question of that I put up last night was: Do you watch a ton of science fiction on Netflix, Funkhouser?
Oh yeah. I'm more of a documentarian.
That makes sense. My current one has to do with Netflix. What is the best Netflix sci-fi show on right now? And your choices are Stranger Things, Sense8, and The OA. And you know what's interesting? Even when we, asked important questions about policy and presidential candidates and stuff like that, didn't get anywhere near the number of votes that this has gotten. People really want to weigh in on this. There's only a few hours left. Right now, Stranger Things is ahead with a whopping 83% of the votes, followed by Sense8 with 9% and The OA with 8%. So yeah, let's try and do a daily survey. Tomorrow we'll deal with Funkhouser's yoga practices. But I'm proud of you, Funkhouser.
Thank you.
All joviality and joking aside, I think, like I said, anything that encourages us to be less pale and pasty and seat-driven, literally people like us that do anything, that's to be applauded. So well done, Funkhouser. Good for you.
Let's hope I can do it again and again and again.
Let's hope. Well, just once a week. You should be able to find time once a week. I know people that swear by it every single day, so there you go. But it's hard, man. It's hard. It's really hard committing to stuff. That's the difficult part of life. This is why people feel burnt out. You hit that new year and you're like, new year, new you, or whatever it is that you're telling yourself, or anytime you set a goal. It doesn't have to be when it's the start of a new year or when it's a birthday with a 0 at the end of it. Anytime you set yourself a goal, immediately obstacles will spring up left, right, and center. So I'm going to encourage you and support you in your desire to do TRX yoga, and I hope that you reap the rewards and the benefits. Let's do a little news.
Kim Kardashian says psoriasis has spread to her face.
Oh. Which tells me that male DNA does nothing to prevent psoriasis. Go on.
Drake
Wait
was...
for it. There it is.
Real classy. Why don't we just go to the story?
Okay.
Drake was named Best Dressed Man of 2016.
Oh. You know what that shows me? Shows me that we as a culture have short memories. If Drake was the best dressed man of 2016, it means we've already forgotten about Ken Bone's red sweater.
Stimulated minds want to know, what were you thinking? No, really, give us a call and tell us. KPRC AM 950.
Now, more AD on the radio.
So if you hit 2017 going, this year is going to be different, I'm going to get the very most out of every single day. I'm going to dive into my workplace responsibilities, and I'm going to bring life to its freaking knees. And if you're already feeling burnt, and you're feeling burnt in the workplace every day, there's a couple of reasons for that, and we'll get into it a little later on in the show. Right now, though, Funkhouser, what else is going on in the world? Let's do some more news.
Fine, hold on. Lost my news. Hold on here a second. Da 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 ba beep beep boop boop. Netflix will double its number of original series.
Yeah. Netflix. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it like... I love this. I love that Netflix are doing what they're doing. First and foremost, I love a lot of the Netflix series. Especially like the Marvel adaptations, like the Daredevils and the Luke Cages and the Jessica Joneses. They're freaking fantastic. So well done. But It goes back to doing things. Getting started is often the hardest thing. Committing to do something. Like we were talking about the fact that Funkhouser has decided to commit to TRX Yoga once a week at 7:10 on Sunday mornings. As we are honk-shoeing all tucked up in our beds, we know that Funkhouser will be getting his burn on, being twisted up into the shape of a pretzel and being incredibly uncomfortable for the sake of self-improvement. That's what Funkhouser is going to be doing at 7:10. You've been once and you're trying to commit. It's tough trying to commit, right?
Yeah. I at least got one more in me.
Yeah. And you're supposed to do it 4 times and you'll feel transformed, right?
That's what I've been told by the teacher.
Just
trying to keep the class together.
Yeah, just starting anything is so tough. Like, just starting anything is so tough. And I love the Netflix story. Why? Because this was somebody that thought, hey, you know what people don't like to do? Leave the house. They like to have food delivered. They like to be there in their pajamas, and they like to watch what the hell they want to watch. And Netflix was just a way of mailing DVDs through the mail. That's all it was. And then, as nifty and as an idea as that was, it kind of became obsolete, and Netflix started to grow and develop and expand. And look, if you think this is a glowing appraisal of Netflix, it's not. It's just a glowing appraisal of doing things, taking action. Like, who would have thought this person that thought, I'm going to mail DVDs out to people so they don't have to get out of their PJs to watch a movie, would evolve into a streaming service and then evolve into a company that had so much money that they were making their own unbelievably expensive shows. Like these Netflix shows, the Netflix movies, they're not cheap. They're not being done on a shoestring budget. Some of them are the most expensive TV productions of all time, and it's done without the benefit of selling commercial airtime, so that, antacids will offset the price of making these original productions. No, they just grew and developed. And if they hadn't thought, all right, I'm going to mail out DVDs to people, they wouldn't be on the verge of a movie and television empire in the new age that was redefining what it was to be a movie and television empire, if they hadn't just started somewhere. It's great power in starting, and look at them go. Netflix going to double their number of original series. Not to be outdone, NBC will triple its number of unoriginal series. TV, that thing you used to watch. Go on.
Amber Rose said she'd never date a bisexual man.
Guess Kanye was the last one. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Go on. What else?
Pat Benatar turned 64 today.
And even at her age, after she's been successfully married for such a long time, love is still a battlefield. Mostly, I think, because she and her husband can no longer agree on a thermostat setting. It's still cold. Hit me with your best shot. Go on.
The Pope says women can breastfeed in church if they want to.
In totally unrelated news, Anthony Weiner just converted to Catholicism. There you go. Pope says, don't waste food. Pope says women need to be more involved in church. Pope also says that women can now breastfeed in church. There you go. Oh, wow. I'm going straight to hell for what I just thought, which we can't talk about on the radio. Go on.
Donald Trump tweeted that Meryl Streep is an overrated actress.
Yeah, Meryl Streep's an overrated actress. Then he called Michael Jordan a horrible basketball player and Bill Gates a broke loser. Go on.
Joe Biden says it's time for Donald Trump to grow up.
Yeah, well, Botox says it's time for Joe Biden to grow old, so there's that. It does bother me. It does, look, here's the thing. This show operates from a point of trying to find common ground, trying to find the universal truths that unite all of us. And, like we've said numerous times on this show, it's not hard. It's not difficult. What do we all want? We all want pretty much the same stuff. We all want to have a job that is meaningful. We want a roof over our heads. We want that job to provide some security. We want to not stress about money at the end of the month, or not stress too terribly much, not be in an unworkable, unlivable situation. Why? Because if we have kids, we want to be able to support them. We want them to have a life, and we want them to have a shot in this world. Whether you're up, down, left, right, sideways, what we want is universal. We all want the same stuff. And if we bear in mind that we are working toward the same things, maybe if we keep that first in our thoughts, that we want the same things, we just have different ideas of how to get there, we can talk to one another, have a conversation, and maybe, just maybe, get there faster. But, I just don't... As much as I try and find good in Donald Trump, much as I try and find good in his intentions, much as I try and find common ground with any politician, anytime, it's the behavior on Twitter is just, it's really hard for me to stomach. And I know there's a lot of people that say I should be screaming and ranting and raving about this. But again, I don't want to dig us in deeper to our division, but it just makes me wildly nervous when I see how thin his skin is. And now look, it's been well documented that 9 times out of 10, when he does something seemingly childish and crazy on Twitter, there's something else going on that the world is conveniently distracted from at a similar time. But just, President Thinskin. I think that's going to be our name for him moving forward, unless his mannerisms change on Twitter, and I don't think that they are.
Real radio. Real radio.
104.1.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So if you are just joining us, we started the show today talking about the division that Donald Trump and Meryl Streep have managed to widen in this country. Meryl Streep went and said, hey, Hollywood, foreign press, we're the most maligned segments of society. Boy, do we have it hard in this day and age. And Donald Trump went, she's a highly overrated actress and a Hillary flunky, and people in Hollywood don't understand what it's like to be a normal Joe like the Donald J. Trump family. And it just, like I said, widened and strengthened the division that we feel in America. And I do my very best to try and stitch that up every single day. Thin thread, tenuous stitches. And every time someone goes and undoes them, I'll be back there trying to put it back together. But the one thing that the one thing that I think we arrived at, the conclusion that we arrived at after talking about this, is that, you know what? A lot of people don't understand. There's long hours and hard work and sacrifice involved in every area of life, including that of folks that work in entertainment. A lot of thankless years making no money, doing things that are really, really tough to pursue a dream. You can't make it in that world without having quite a work ethic. Now, the work is not swinging a hammer or anything like that, but it is a work ethic that should be respected. And it involves a mindset and a kind of determination that, when I've seen it in people, is really something to behold. And by the same token, we agreed that in strengthening and widening this divide with her speech, Meryl Streep overlooks the fact that we don't know. We don't know about other people's lives unless we're living them, unless we've walked a mile in their shoes. Like the family member that I spent time with over the holidays, the farmer. And you think, farmer, there's a simple life, a man of soil. Yeah, well, being a man of the soil in this day and age takes it takes being incredibly adept at computer sciences so you can effectively analyze soil and make sure that you're doing the best and kindest things to it so it will continue to give back to you over and over again over the years. And we will conserve our precious natural resources. Through computers and sciences, this is how the modern farmer works. And a lot of people don't consider these things. So, in our effort to know and understand a little bit more about what other people do, we talk to as many folks as we can on this show that think and believe different things than we do, that have different lives. And we try and understand exactly who they are, how they are going to the places they're going, and what they've done to become that person that they are. How their thoughts and how their beliefs were formed. Incredibly valuable to understand as much as you can about that which you are not every single day of your life. And for that reason, we are stoked that we're going to have, he's nominated for an Oscar, right, Funkhouser?
Yeah, it seems that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oscar nomination, and has won Oscar nomination. Let's see here. This is a guy called Scott Hecker. He's going to be on the show tomorrow, and I'm incredibly excited about this. Why? Scott Hecker is a sound design guy. Basically, when you went to see Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the sounds that you heard in the movie just leapt out at you, just made you feel like you were there in that moment. When you went to see Mad Max Fury Road or Man of Steel or Sucker Punch or the Twilight movies or The Watchmen, this is the guy responsible for the sounds coming out of the speakers at the movie theater. He's a sound design guy, and he's nominated for an Oscar in his work, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. And we're going to have him on the show tomorrow. I love stuff like this. I love it. Like, I was on a plane a little while ago, and I sat next to this dude, and we got chatting. He's like, what do you do? I was like, well, radio. And what do you do? And he was like, nothing as exciting as that. I was like, trust me. Radio, not as exciting as a lot of people assume it is. What is it you do? And he's like, well, I work for a confectionery business. I was like, no kidding. Like confectionery, like desserts, snack food, cake. And he was like, really only icing? I was like, huh? He's like, yeah, I work for a company that supplies icing. I was like, supplies icing to what? He was like, have you ever had like one of those cinnamon rolls at Costco? I was like, yes, I have. And they were delicious. He was like, we make the icing for it. I was like, Costco outsources their icing? He was like, many people do. It's sort of its standalone business. And basically, I'm responsible for generating business, selling our icing to people, and then keeping our existing customers happy. I'm sort of an icing salesman. And my mind was blown because up until that moment, I didn't know the job of icing salesman existed. This is a guy that has put icing on so many things that I've eaten over the years, and I just didn't even know that was a job up until then. And anytime I get a moment to go, holy crap, this is a thing, this is an industry, this is something that people do, I never knew that. Man, I just feel like my mind has been expanded and widened, and it's so awesome learning more about what folks get up to day in and day out. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow. In its own way, as exciting as the icing guy, Scott Hecker, guy who was nominated for an Oscar for his work in sound design in Batman vs. Superman, is going to be on the show talking about what he does tomorrow. And not only that, Funkhouser, is he going to be doing it? Is he going to be bringing in the audio samples?
It appears as such, yes. He will be bringing a thumb drive of equipment.
Oh my gosh, he's going to bring in sound effects that he made and tell us how he made them. Oh God, that's so cool. Oh, so excited for this. This is going to be good times. Funkhouser,
prepare for
explosions
and everything, yes.
Yeah. It's amazing. I can't wait. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. That is our programming, though. All right, Funkhouser, how much time do we have left?
Like 8 minutes or something.
Oh, really? All right, let's do a little bit more news. And then we'll talk about why you are so burnt out at work, even though you leapt into 2017 with grit and determination to make it different than last year, and you're already feeling like you were at the tail end of 2016. We'll discuss why you feel that way and possible ways to combat it after we get into what remains of the news. What else, Funkhouser?
Stephen Baldwin, Wayne Newton, and Fabio are expected to appear at Donald Trump's inauguration.
Wow, the stars are out. Wait, run down that list again.
Stephen Baldwin,
okay.
Wayne Newton, and Fabio.
Fabio, the romance the novel cover guy. It's really hard to believe those three could find time in their extremely busy schedules, but I guess they made it work. I wonder if that caused like a huge rift around the dinner table over the holidays, like the Baldwin thing, because obviously Alec Baldwin is on. That's the right Baldwin brother, right? Alec Baldwin, he's the one that's on SNL doing the Trump impersonation. Like,
yeah,
he has made his position on Trump fairly clear, and Stephen Baldwin was out there stumping for Trump. That was a big thing for him. So I wonder if it made things a little difficult Thanksgiving and Christmas time I wonder if it stopped them from spending quality family time together. Isn't Stephen Baldwin also the same guy that started he's got his own ministry and stuff too? Is that still a thing?
I haven't been following the career of Stephen Baldwin. I don't know.
Really?
Should I have, though?
I don't know. He was in the Flintstones, and then I think he started a ministry, and then he's a Trump supporter, so there you go. Well, what else?
Los Angeles experienced a spike in violent crime last year.
Yeah. Turns out the only people in L.A. that can't shoot are the Lakers. Go on.
A West Virginia sheriff stole from an evidence locker full of meth.
Where?
In West Virginia.
And he stole from what?
An evidence locker.
Full of what now?
Meth.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the entire state of West Virginia an evidence locker full of meth? Go on.
It takes 12 years to pay off the average college degree.
In other words, your kid will be living in your basement for 12 years. 56 if your degree was art appreciation and you're still a barista. That's disheartening is what that is. Do you go to college, Funkhouser?
Do I? I did.
No,
I went to community college. Yeah, I was an architecture major.
Oh, that's right. No, I do. How on earth could I have forgotten? When Funkhouser isn't doing talk radio, he's an architect. There's buildings standing that he designed. This is correct. It's one of the most insane things I have ever heard. Funkhouser is incredibly smart and incredibly accomplished, and he's an architect when he's not doing this. Do you ever think
you don't need
I'll
brain
fall
to
back
draw.
on?
It's fine.
You think you're ever going to fall back on architecture? I have to say, fall back. Obviously, bit of a joke. I don't believe anyone would call it falling back on architecture from, following bad news with a punchline on the radio to making things that you can walk into, actual buildings that serve purposes. But I have to imagine, you're a creative person, obviously. I have to imagine that creating a building, that's a certain type of creative itch that you would want to scratch at some point or another in your life. To me, someone that would become an architect is someone that is driven to create. And I have to imagine that you miss it. You miss not creating buildings that you can go look at and walk around and walk into. Sort of, but not. It's like a lot of people say your voice, you were a singer in a rock band and now you're this. And I don't miss the music industry at all. But man, I talked to a buddy of mine about this not so long ago. Yes, they are, sort of similarly creative things that involve being a professional big mouth when you're a singer in a punk rock band and when you're doing sort of punk rock version of talk radio. Yes, there are definitely more similarities than differences. But like I said, we talked about this in the past, and I've talked to some friends of mine about this. Guys that used to be in bands and now are not. Anybody that's had any kind of success in the world of music, specifically rock music, and I define success as anybody that can put 100 people in a room and watch them go nuts because you got through to them. You're effed for life because there's nothing like that. It's unique and it's awesome, and it cannot be duplicated in any other area of your life creatively, professionally. There's no substitute for breaking through to a room full of people, whether that's 100 people, 150 people, 500 people. I think the most I ever played in front of was 40,000, and it just can't be replicated no matter what it is you do for the rest of your life. And it's an interesting one. But you could go back and you could make those buildings that stand.
I guess
you could walk into if you wanted to. And how much did you spend on community college?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Do
you think you got a good education going to community college?
It felt like 13th and 14th grade, really. But yeah, it was good.
Are you in any kind of debt from your time in college?
Oh no, I'm in debt from
were you after
a lot
you got
of other
out
things.
College?
Yeah,
a lot of other things. But were you able to pay as you go? You didn't leave community. You left community college with a good education and no debt. Is what you're saying?
I was being able. I lived at home. I didn't have a lot of bills. It was great.
Yeah, there you go.
I could take out a loan on all of the credits and then pay it off, just like a car.
Yeah, but you didn't have to. So it's possible to get an education that sets you up for life in the real world. It makes it so you can work doing something like being an architect and not have to carry with you thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of debt that are going to stick with you for the next 13 to 14 years. Interesting. Right. There you go. Make that what you will. How much time do we have left? Oh, that much. Well, if we have a chance to tomorrow, we'll talk about why you might be burnt out at work. But most excitingly of all, we're going to talk to Oscar-nominated sound designer Scott Hecker about what it is he does and how he got there. And most excitingly of all, he's got to bring audio samples with him from movies that he's worked on. Big blockbuster movies that we've all seen. I'm quivering in anticipation. I really am. Thank you for hanging out.